government officials insist that this is an isolated incident. The damage is reduced.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Change More backpacking stove. I've had this for about a month. I received it directly from them to be able to review for you guys and to be able to give them some feedback on this unit. And I have used it pretty heavily, and so I feel confident in being able to give you guys a detailed review. I'm going to bring you guys with me out in the field. We're going to take a look at it. I'll show you how to set it up. We'll look at some more details on it, and I'll give you guys some tips that I found that might help you if you are thinking about getting this or if you already have it. So we'll get right into it, and I'll bring you guys back. For this trip, my dog Marley and I traveled a good couple miles into an area that was pretty remote, and we planned on spending the next couple days there doing some hunting and some filming for some other projects. And so it was nice to be able to try this stove out and really get some hard use out of it. So this comes with everything you need. It even comes with some gloves, which I definitely suggest using, not only to keep your hands clean, but just to keep them from getting cut up or anything like that. And then in here is where you can keep the rings. You can keep, any extra parts or anything. And I even keep a little fire starter in there, which is kind of nice to have. And yeah, this whole thing zips up, and you guys can see, it doesn't take up much space. Very lightweight, 4.9 pounds, and it fits in my backpack perfectly, or you could carry it. So one thing I wanted to mention is about the stovepipe. When you get this unit and you roll it out for the first time, you're going to want to have somebody help you. And what I did is I got some wrapping paper, and I used the cardboard tube, and I laid that down on here. I rolled the pipe, and then I put the ring on, and I did that in sections until I got to the other end. And then I did my first burn on the stove, and that really, helped. It kept it from wrinkling. I don't have any kinks in it, And so this is going to last you a lot longer. So it's really important to do that. And then once you do your first burn, you're going to be able to roll this up, and you're going to be able to roll it out really easily, because it's going to kind of stay in that shape, if that makes sense. You guys know I come out here a lot, and something like that can fit in a backpack is really kind of a game changer for me, because I don't have to dig a fire pit really close. You know, I'm able to have this unit in here, and that thing is light. It weighs 4.9 pounds, and everything folds flat. Came with a bag, fits in my backpack, no problem. And you guys can see the stovepipe rolls out. I mean, everything fits in there. Came with gloves that you can use so you don't get your hands scratched or dirty. So I'm really impressed with it. This is my first time using it out in the field. I have assembled it at home, and I gave it a first burn just to kind of burn any oils or anything like that off of the stove, which is something that I always recommend to do before you actually put it in a tent. And so we're going to test it out tonight. I'm real excited. Definitely a neat unit. So I apologize for the wind noise. I've got both sides of the tent open just so it's a little easier for me to film. But you can see how I got the stove set up in here kind of at an angle. And then I got my bed set up over here with my head at this end. And then I've got my wood back here. And so when I'm in bed at night, I'm able to open this door, reach for a piece of wood, and it just makes it a lot more convenient when, you know, you're in a tight space. I'm sure there's other ways to configure it, but this is really kind of how it's worked for me, and gives me enough space to where I can cook in here. I've got some room for my gear, and everything isn't really in the way. And one thing I like to try and do is really kind of try and keep my wood and everything really neat, and make sure that your stove is level, because the tent's not always going to be, you know, level, but it's really important that the stove is, and it's important that you get the pipe going as straight as possible. You know, when the tent moves, it might have a tendency to move it a little, but as long as this is flat, it should work good. So once you get a fire started in here, this stove is essentially going to be like a vacuum, and all the air is going to get drawn in through here, and so you're going to be able to control how hot you're burning that stove. And once you get a good burn going out of a log, I usually like to turn this down just a little, and in some cases if it's really hot, you know, I'll have it near almost closed. But you definitely don't want to close it all the way. It's going to snuff out the fire. You want a little bit of airflow. But to get started, I usually have this all the way open. And then you can see I've got some coals in there from last night. And to get the fire started, I usually just get some dry stuff. You know, some little pieces like this. And I'll get that in there. It may actually light. We might got some stuff in there, and then get that lit. Get some more dry stuff in there. You kind of want to start out small. So this is your stove dampener right here, and this direction up and down, that's completely open, and you probably want to have it completely open when you first start the stove. And then once you get it started and it's burning for a while, I usually like to turn it down just about a quarter turn. You definitely don't want to, you know, have it shut. Obviously that's going to keep all the smoke in there. You're going to start getting smoke coming in, so you'll figure that out really quick. But I really, you know, once I get it going, I really never change it from about a quarter turn. And once the stove gets rolling, you know, you can throw a bigger piece in there. And just to give you an idea, this has been running pretty much most of yesterday and all last night. And so probably later, if I was going to stay here another night, I'd probably want to let this cool down and pull it outside and just dump the ashes. So there's more than enough room to cook on here. You know, I can easily put a pan on here. I've used it to make coffee and it works really well. It'll boil water really quickly if you get this stoked up. And been pretty happy with it so far. So it's almost 80 degrees in here. I stoked it up on making myself some more coffee. Oh, there it is, 80 degrees. For this particular trip, Marley and I headed out into a really remote area that I don't go to very often. This was about 50 to 60 miles from the nearest town, and we spent about 4 days out there filming for various projects. And one of the last nights we camped at this area that was up on the top of this mountain at about 6,000 feet. Beautiful views up there, and I was really happy it brought the hot tent with the stove because it got down into the teens that night, and you guys will see from the footage. Well guys, we got a beautiful camp spot here. I have been here before. The last time that I came, I was with a few friends. It actually snowed on us. It does get quite a bit colder up here. I think we're sitting right about 5,500 feet, something like that, maybe 6,000. So we are quite a ways up here. I'm gonna go around right now. I gotta scramble and try and find some firewood, and I gotta set up the tent and all that good stuff. But I'll bring you guys back as we go. So I got the tent set up, I fired up the stove, rolled out the bed, so Marley's got a nice warm place to kind of hang out. And I got a fire started out here. It's 33 degrees out here, and so it is quite cold, and it's going to get much colder tonight. That was one reason I brought this tent with the stove. I knew it was going to be. I had to go quite a ways to get wood. I was able to find a few fell trees that I could salvage some limbs off of, and so I dragged those back. I got plenty of wood for the stove, and I got a little bit for the campfire. So I've used this stove on several different trips, and I feel pretty confident in being able to give you guys an honest review. You know, initially it was a bit difficult to get together just because I didn't have the experience, but after setting it up a few times, it gets much easier. A really nice design, I do like it. There are a few issues with it that I do see. one of which is the door here. It does have bolts that hold the door hinge on. One of them fell out, and thankfully it was not when I was using the stove. It was when I was dumping it out and cleaning out the ashes. They must have loosened up and fell, and I wasn't able to find it. And so in the spirit of MacGyverness, I used a piece of baling wire here to keep that on. I am ultimately going to replace both of these with pins, which I think in the beginning probably would have been best for them to do, because it's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when these are going to loosen up and fall out. And you know, you don't want to be using the stove in a tent. You know, open the door and one of those falls out, you know, in the middle of the night, and you can't get the door closed. That would be a serious issue. And so I definitely would recommend, you know, if you purchase this, either make sure that those bolts are tight, maybe put some Loctite on them. I'm not sure if that would help, but I'm replacing mine with some pins, which I think, you know, they're not going to fall out. So as mentioned, there is pros and cons to this stove, and with that being said, like all my reviews, I don't care if you guys buy this. I'm simply showing you my own experience, and for the most part it's been pretty good. I really like the weight of it. It's very compact, fit in my backpack, no problem, and left room for, you know, a lot more stuff. And we used it car camping out of my Jeep. It was nice having something small and compact, because again, that leaves room for space for other necessities. And so in that part of it, I really like the overall dimensions of it. Very well thought out, you know, how it goes together. And with some practice, you know, it's pretty easy to put together, pretty easy to take down and pack away. And I like the fact that it's big enough, you know, I can cook on it. It'll handle a good sized pan. I can make my coffee on here. It's a good height, very efficient. I can open this up, I can turn it down and really control the heat. And we used this on a couple really cold nights. I really like the front and rear window. It gives, you know, a nice ambience in the tent. And two, I'm able to look in there, I'm able to see how things are burning, I'm able to see, you know, how much wood I have left in there. I haven't seen any issues with warping. Again, I did get this extremely hot. So with all that being said, I really appreciate them sending me this stove. If you guys are interested in it, I'll leave a link in the description. I really hope I was able to give you guys, you know, a good amount of information on this stove and some good feedback on it. If you guys, you know, already own it, or you guys are thinking about buying it, you know, it's a neat stove. Just keep in mind about the bolts, like I'd mentioned. Make sure that they're tight. You may even want to bring a wrench with you in your backpack, you know, if you're going to be going out in the field. It would definitely be nice to have something just to make sure that everything is tight before you put it together and use it. But I appreciate you guys watching. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this stove. If you have any experience with it, I'd like to hear it. But I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you guys soon.